This program is brought to you by the Brennan School of Business at Dominican University, along with Professor Zack Ross. I hope you enjoy.
So it gets everything done. Like that. It doesn't take too long to straight get out of my supervision. One of my comments exactly is it's so like
used to it, it'll slow me down.
If you're comfortable with the parts that change, there's something that is wrong.
Yeah, oh well. I'm too wide awake anyway.
For example, like I have like I'm trying to say like as long as it's I'm thinking like teams, something's bad, like somebody gets fired and then you have to take right.
Oh, for sure. And like, I've done like, trying to deal with it. It's not like hiding when I like, when I have people yelling into the I'm like, all right, let's talk about
Well, it could be both. It could be just personal. Are you a seller or are you? All right, is everyone about time? Would you guys need more time? Couple minutes. You guys, next Thursday, I may bring in a guest speaker for about 20-25 minutes. He's a partner with me at Tiberius, and he used to work for the FBI, the State Department, and he did like some special ops stuff. So he worked in Libya, Tunisia, Afghanistan, Iraq. So he's a really interesting guy. He's probably talks about some of the challenges and conflicts that we face, trying to communicate with other people and get this up there. So I want you to meet him. So probably next Thursday, he'll be in here for about 20-25 minutes. Really interesting, dude. All right, we could start from over here. You guys want to put them back up on the board again? So everyone can see. You guys can start right here.
So we said that our management style is pretty structured and organized. We don't like when people kind of micromanage us. We don't like them on top of us, but we'd like to know what we're doing, what our tasks are. We're very direct when we communicate with people. We like clear, knowing exactly what we have to do, what everyone else should do too. We like kind of just saying right from the back, like, this is your job, this is my job, and then how we're gonna get it done. But we also like to be respectful and mindful of other people when we're doing that. We say that it is effective just because we're still getting our jobs done, we're still getting everything done, but it's not, I say it's not in the nicest manner because we're very direct, so it's not always what exactly people like to hear, except just this is what you have to do. We don't mind change as long as it's gradual change and it's kind of going towards improvement. And then with stress and conflict, we want to get the job done regardless of any problems that we might have, but we always like to have a backup plan so that if there's a conflict, it's going to get resolved regardless.
Okay, cool. So at your job, have you had like a horrible situation where you're put under a ridiculous amount of stress and you had a deadline and stuff like that yet, or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, you're working in finance, so it's gonna come up really quickly. Next.
Well, our management style is more easygoing. We feel that most people get into the job, they're gonna know what they have to do. And you might have to tell them like guide them along the way. They don't have to be, like they said, micromanaging and stuff like that. As a manager, you want to be understanding and cooperative. As long as they're doing their job, I don't think you have to be, you know, as long as they're, you know, you don't have to worry about that. I wouldn't like to tell them what to do if I'm not doing it, so I think you should lead by example. I don't also want them to feel like, you know, that, you know, oh, I'm the boss, it's different than me, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like they shouldn't be treated like that, you know, it should just be like a respect, you know? So we said, yeah, I was effectiveness, you know, because of the goal that we'll treat someone like you would want to be treated, you know? Your employees are more likely to go above and beyond for you if, you know, you treat them with the respect they deserve. And then we said change, like, it's 50-50, you know, depending on the situation, whether it's, you know, change is gonna happen whether you like it or not. Right, you know, so like, it's all depends on how you adapt to it. And then conflict of interest, we said that you should prioritize, most of us like to take the challenge head on, you know, like fix it.
You guys like stress, you like the job. You got it.
So for us, we kind of said for our management style, we said that we like, some of us like to be laid back, which is kind of like the micromanaging, not always on top of your employee or other coworkers. We also said organize, so that means like in the beginning of the day, you should maybe make a list of things that need to be done that day or you have to do for that day or upcoming events. And you should also be straightforward with your employees, your coworkers, to let them know that what needs to get done is not like you're not messing around or joking, or you're serious and this needs to get done today or whatever. For change, or we thought these three styles were effective, and said for how to deal with change. Most of us we said are really flexible. We could feel really comfortable too with change, and a lot of us are really adaptive. So we, if something changes for the better of the company or business, then we're all for it. How do we deal with conflict and stress? Most of us said that communication, you gotta make sure all your employees are on the same page as you. Make sure they all know, just kind of like what's going on in the business. You also have to problem solve, and you also need to, I feel like, stay relaxed and stay positive. Like you shouldn't go crazy and make it like a big deal and tell everyone, oh my god, this is what happened. Like you should really like keep it, like if it's a conflict within you and someone else, it should just stay between you and that person, kind of.
So keep it even, like temperament.
Right, not like make a huge big deal out of it.
So with you guys, where you like treat your other employees as equals, do you ever find like employees overstep their boundaries?
I don't think you go around with them.
Okay.
You just like, I've never had a problem.
Okay.
I used to work like at Temple Bowling Lounge in downtown, and so there would be times where like the manager, he would rely on like me and this other guy to do a lot of like his work for him, and I mean we would do it, we didn't have a problem with it, but it came to a point where the manager was like, well, how do you know how to do that? Like, why do you know this? Like, why do you know more? Like basically like, why do you know more than me? Why are you in here? Why are you in my office? So that's where it runs into like the employee knowing more than the manager.
All right, cool.
Yeah, our management style is kind of the same lines as their group, laid back. Yeah, I feel like sometimes employees could overstep their boundaries. But by friendly, I kind of, when I talk to people that are below me, I try to, always explain everything to them so that they know they're on the same page. Instead of just telling them what to do, kind of talk to them as friends, explain, this is why we're doing this.
So being transparent.
Yeah. As far as being internal, we all kind of agree that it's a good idea to, kind of think things through. Sometimes being impulsive is actually a good thing if you need to make a really quick decision. But for the most part, we all kind of have the same mindset. We like to internalize things and think them through. We thought those were pretty effective management styles. We all kind of deal with change. We're adaptable. We can learn new things quickly. So if we have to face some change at work, we can, learn them reasonably quickly. And then handling stress, we always feel that it's good to go directly to the source and talk to whoever has the problems, and kind of talk it through. And then if there's other things, if you have to go beyond that, and I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. All right, cool. For you guys who play sports, is everyone equal? You guys treat each other as equal, or somebody's a leader and somebody has more leadership? Captains do? How do they treat you? What's their management style? How do they communicate with you? Just as equals. Okay.
We've had it in ours.
Yeah, we've had it both ways. We've had it where people are treated as equals, and then we have had it in the past where they're kind of like, we're better than you, and like, this is this.
Well, we do have leaders that don't really know how to lead vocally. We have a lot of lead by example people, and I think that's really good, especially on the team setting. But you do need those people, I think, that are very vocal leaders and know how to get things done and the right way to say them.
So leaders just kind of naturally just step up.
Yeah. They just kind of know how to deal with things in proper. Because when you're dealing with that many women in one setting, it can get a little messy.
So how many people in this class think that they're a leader? What makes you a leader?
I try to be cool with everyone, so I try to, the too nice, that's when I'm talking to my coworkers, I try to, just be friends with a lot of people and, have everyone, kind of work in a positive environment. And I don't know, people kind of look to me at work because of that.
So likability.
Yeah.
So likability goes a long way.
Yeah, and I just talk a lot, so people ask me questions.
You guys agree with that? If you like somebody, you're more willing to listen to them, take their advice, maybe do what they tell you to do.
I think for me personally, there's a difference between liking someone and respecting someone.
Mm-hmm.
So if I respect you, I'm more willing to listen to you, even if I don't necessarily always like you.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you could differentiate these. Okay. So, who are other leaders? What makes you a great leader?
I think I'm very thoughtful, and I'm very good at picking out what makes each person different and playing on their strengths. So on our team, I think I'm really good at knowing what's going on with everyone. She's having a problem with this, or she has a food allergy, or she has this. I kind of can modify what I'm doing to help each person kind of succeed.
So you're able to really identify people's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And work with
I really like close personal relationships. So I'm really like to get to know people on a one-on-one basis and then work off of their strengths and that.
Do you think that takes too much time, as opposed to just kind of work with them?
I think it's worth it, personally.
I think one of my strengths is being adaptable and being flexible, because especially your environment's all constantly changing. So I think it's important, especially in a team base, to always something goes wrong, just be on the ball, adaptable, and know how to solve it well. And kind of take the reins when everyone's kind of freaking out.
Okay, so you could just kind of work your way through any environment. Anyone? No more leaders? All right, so do you guys change any way that you communicate or any management style based on culture? Even friends or people here at school or at your job or just out and about or your peers? Do you change the way you communicate? Some people are more maybe directive. Other people you're less directive. or more people are sensitive to certain things that you say to them, questions you may ask, or how personal you may want to be with them?
So the way that I am when I email the professors that I'm going to work with for my internship and the way that I email my freshman and peer advisor are completely different because for my internship I like to be a little bit more direct and I want them to know exactly what it is that I want to do. But then with my freshmen I have to realize that I have to be a lot nicer, that I have to like watch my tone of voice and I have to smile all the time and I have to make sure that they feel comfortable coming to me without me having to go to them all the time. So I make sure that I'm a nice person. I just make sure that they can see me as a nice person more than just, I want them to see me more as a friend than as like a teacher.
The manager at like my old job, he's kind of everything that is wrong with the manager. He speaks fluent French and he has a couple of employees that speak French as well. So he will, in front of customers, in front of like other people like us, like they'll speak French to each other, and I think it's just extremely inappropriate and like not a right way. It's like a very unequal environment. Like he treats everyone like differently, and it's not in like a good way. So it's just kind of like everything that I don't want to be in manager. So I think it's good in that way that I know what not to be, but like he just like doesn't really know how to communicate well.
Yeah, I know quite a few people. Anyone else?
So at summers I work with people I go back every year from college to here. So this past summer I was given the deliveries roll call coordinator position. Just kind of handles all deliveries, like contract orders, like online deliveries, store deliveries, whatever. So I had a morning puller and a nighttime puller, which they were under me. And the morning puller, he's kind of a stoner guy, I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, he's a approach something completely different than I did my nighttime puller. Who was a studious kid, he's going to college, he's still completely different. So I mean, the way you communicate with them is completely different. One you can tell them straightforward. The morning guy can tell them straightforward, like, dude, don't do this and that. Like the other guy at night, I have to be a little bit more easy with him because I think he's more sensitive given the morning guy. So it's just different approaches depending on people.
Yeah, you could be really just ineffective and that could hurt the bottom line. That's the point. I mean, do you guys all feel like we have personal biases towards people from different cultures? Meaning, like, if we work in a work environment, someone's from the same culture you're from, do you use that as leverage to maybe, treat them differently or give them more passes than you would someone outside of your culture? I'm not talking race here. Race is not culture, but just cultural identification.
I feel like our generation is very like our generation is a generation of equalness. So I feel like we all kind of treat each other, that's my opinion, the same.
I agree. I think as time moves forward, it gets better.
And I'm Polish myself, but I don't speak it. But at my work, I deal with pretty much all Polish people, and I mean, because I'm Polish, like I guess I could say I just hate them, and they are really, really just annoying people to deal with. So I definitely treat them differently at work, and whether that's a good thing, it's not a good thing, but I'll admit that I do treat different cultures differently. It's not like I treat them disrespectfully, but like
Your personality and where you're from doesn't normally match with how they handle things.
Yeah, they kind of come in and they're kind of distrustful of my own service, so I kind of don't treat them as friendly as I would someone else.
I actually think that I treat people better if they're the same kind of culture that I am. I just think I'm more likely to joke around with them at work.
More commonalities.
Right, and so I'm more likely to like laugh and kind of joke and talk like a little bit. But if there's other people like my coworkers who are from like not vastly different culture, but just a different culture altogether, then I'm more likely to kind of try to be understanding and kind of like eager to understand where they're coming from. So sometimes I'm more sensitive toward those that are of a different culture than me, just because I don't want to put them off and kind of like highlight the differences.
So maybe you don't have enough information about them to really gauge how you should approach, right?
Yeah, I'm like more open in that way, whereas I'm more easy, not easygoing, but just like comfortable or joking around.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
I think because I enjoy learning the differences of people, I don't really approach people differently. I think it would, like, especially on study abroad, like when you meet a fellow American in another country, it's kind of exciting to like have some kind of common ground. But I think as a manager, regardless of what culture we all come from, I kind of give everyone like the same expectations. But then you can adjust based on like once you learn about them. And you know, the work's always going to be the same, and I believe like respect is always given, regardless of who you are and where you come from. But I think it's just kind of like, it gives you a little sense of relief when you know a little bit more about someone just because they come from the same place as you. So that's just how I see it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I come from a pretty multicultural background, so we have a lot of disagreements, agreements, and communication styles and management styles. My dad is Italian. Mom's black. So dad's first wife was Polish. So Polish Italian brother. Dad's last wife was Korean. I have a Korean Italian brother. Brothers and sisters on my mother's side, married to Mexican, Puerto Rican, Italian, and other stuff as well too. So we definitely, when we get together, I mean, it's just complete chaos in terms of, yeah. And everybody's pretty direct too, so the jokes can get really out of hand. Yeah, everybody's trying to tell, but we're very liberal. And that's what we want to be. We want to be as liberal as possible in terms of international management. Can I take your time? All right, so why is that important? That's important in order to be, let's just say we'll call international management international management. In order to be successful, you have to be a global citizen. Now, what does that mean? It means you got to remove your personal bias. Things you've learned, the way you've been brought up, you pocket that somewhere else. And when you're dealing with people in terms of business, you learn as much as you can about them. Get as much information you can about them. You need that information to establish rapport. Rapport goes a long way when you're working overseas. Whereas here, like you said, you don't necessarily have to like someone in order to do this. In many countries around the world, liking someone goes a long way. And they can make it work because that's more important to them than whatever value you're trying to present to them. In South Africa, things like sense of humor, very important, very important. Just being a genuinely nice person goes a long way. And if you don't have this stuff, then I will talk to you. Just so in chapter 1, we looked at PELT. Political, economic, legal, technological aspects. So what are some of the political challenges that you as a manager with operations around the world will have to worry about? in terms of your bottom line, in terms of your employees, in terms of increasing jobs, cutting jobs, just your operations? What are some of the political things you have to worry about going on either in that country or just around the world?
So what does the politics there is not welcoming to business abroad?
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to do business over there, we have to make sure that they welcome the US and they don't tax the business higher than what.
Yeah, so they need to welcome your business, right? Okay. Anything else? Politics? Is there anything here in this country that would change things politically right now?
I think you have to know where people stand. So like if you want to do business in another country or you have employees that are of a different culture, you need to know to be sensitive or aware of their political stance.
Mm-hmm. So awareness. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of countries, there are only just one dominant party. Here in the United States, there's Republican, Democrat. I know down in Mexico, there's like maybe 2 or 3 major parties, so they only have been in power for a couple hundred years. So you got to be aware of how people affiliate with it. You can be insensitive to that as well too. Is there anything else? What can be impacted by the Roman politics, or a change in politics, or a revolution? Right? What could be impacted in terms of business? Corruption. Corruption.
Relationship with other countries.
Relationship. So like consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this: if things do change and become corrupt, ethical question, what would you do? Do you play ball? Do you stop operations there? Do you change things? What would you guys do? We're talking $1 billion.
I feel like if there's $1 billion of money and it's fruitful, might as well play ball.
Okay. Kind of like greater good, lesser evil type of thing. Like if you don't play ball, how many people are going to lose their jobs? How many families will be destroyed? You'll probably be out of a job too.
If it's internationally, it doesn't depend on where you are, because some places would be really open to that, and others would be kind of, this is part of the business transaction, whereas others, it could be awful, seeing something awful. So depending on where you are,
Yeah. I think this is standard. If it becomes standard practice there, we may have to play ball. But even still, maybe not. Maybe you differentiate yourself and people be like, hey, that's the one honest company over there. You know, I want to do business with you actually trust. All right, what about let's say economic. So for economic, what in terms of economics in other countries is important to know when being a manager?
Well, there's like socioeconomic status. So if you're like trying to sell something high end to a poor country, you have to know
well off they are.
Yeah. So you need to know their status. How large is maybe the middle class in that country? There's a small middle class, you're not going to succeed. There has to be a large middle class in any country in order for you to succeed, or you don't do business. What else economically would you need to know?
They have to be aware of exchange rates and currency.
Very important. Yeah, it's very important. Anything else?
You should probably also know in your business or like corporation, like how much materials you cost. Like, something more like.
Yeah, I get it. So you're saying like either how much is going to cost to ship materials, or how much are materials costing to develop them?
Like labor.
Yeah. Labor and material costs. What about legal? What are some of the legal factors?
You should have to know different labor laws that you have to adhere to. It might be like different tomorrow than I need this.
So labor laws. Good point.
Being aware of the legal system.
The system in place.
The taxes.
Taxes. And then go here. Regulations on trade. What about technology? What are some of the technological factors?
Advancement.
So like, do they have infrastructure there, right? What about do they even use technology like that? And if they don't, how many people you got to train? In order to train. So let's say usage and training. You got to train 1,500 people in order to do IT work, have a cost, spending on. Everybody get this? So when we do our cases, this is pretty much what we're going to cover, the whole PELT framework. And that's just going to help us understand a little bit better each country or each company that we pick who operates in a certain country. So what about, we just talked basically about, let's say, let's just say obligations. Kind of like ethics. obligations not only does the business have, but what kind of obligation does the manager have who has business activities?
To the other culture.
Hmm?
To the other culture.
Yeah.
Oh, to be familiar with the language.
What about making good decisions on behalf of the company? Decision making.
Respectful differences.
They being aware of any essentials that they might have, or making confusion.
So these would be part of their obligations to a society, to the society that they're operating, maybe even the larger society that they have operations in. So I know the book talked about some of the big drug companies like Pfizer, things of that nature. So let's pretend that you're a manager of a large drug conglomerate, and you just developed medication for HIV/AIDS. And now you see that the number of people dying have increased all over the world, or in certain parts of the world. How do you protect your reputation as being responsible, like a global citizen, being responsible to the society, at the same time making as much money as possible? What would you guys do as a manager? What would be like some of your strategy? Would you lower the costs? Would you give a program where they get that free drugs?
Yeah, I would want to take credit for coming up with the cure for AIDS. So I would definitely. I mean, not that it's a bad thing. I mean, I wouldn't want to just.
Let's just say you're just managing it. You're keeping these people alive, right?
But yeah, I would lower the cost just to keep them alive, and then I feel like that would help business if anything. You don't have to think about price right away. In the long term, if you come up with the cure for AIDS, that's got to help you in some way.
So it's going to help in the long term. If you lower the cost.
Still lower the price. Yeah.
Okay.
Keep relations good with the public.
I think by lowering the cost and selling more of it, you probably make more profits than you would if just selling a few of them for such a high price.
Going on for a topic, it's not the case with like EpiPens, how they hike up the price. I don't know how much percent it was.
What's that?
It's like going off for a case, like when you said dollar goes up with the EpiPens, how they hike up the price by a ridiculous amount, and now she's making millions of dollars. So it's kind of contradicting the body.
So you're saying they get hurt? So it could also decrease.
So I think you could highlight how much it costs to make it, and you can justify the price of why you're selling it to them. Yeah, that's cheap to
justify the price of needs in production.
Yeah, it's exactly it's like, lower the price, but, make sure that I make a profit, at the same time. And I would target, governments instead of, just like, normal consumers.
Okay.
Another aspect would be building respectable relationships with outreach programs that can help you get the drug to where it needs to be. I mean, as a human being, I'd love to just like give these drugs away to everyone that needs it. As a business person, you can't always do that. So I think if they develop respectable relationships with the people that can help them find ways to get funding for those places, then they're kind of both winning.
So let's say you build relationships and alliances with NGOs, governments.
Yeah. Like all those organizations that do a lot of work in areas that need these drugs.
So this type of work that you're doing, you're showing that you're responsible as a company socially. That could potentially.
That helps you with everyone that can just avoid regular.
That increases your marketing, that increases your bottom line. Anything else? Yeah, so these are some of the sort of ethical challenges you'll face. Is you have operations in, say, Bangladesh, and you're producing clothes for H&M. So the whole sweatshop thing, you're giving someone a job, but at the same time, in comparison to where you come from, it's essentially slave labor. So those are the type of challenges you're going to face. Everybody get this? For next Tuesday, we're gonna, guys, bring in an article. So do your first article. As that is relatively modern. Let's say within the last year. And you're going to find a situation in which either like the CEO or the manager had to make a very difficult decision about his operations on an international level. How does it relate to this course? What are some of the flaws you see in it, or what you do? Or some of the, basically, what are some of the pros and cons of it? And that's it. I mean, something just do a one-page write-up, but bring the article in as well too with you, a copy, and I'll collect those. You can check out Bloomberg is really good. You can find a lot of really modern stuff on there, and you don't have to pay. You can go on Harvard Business Review, the economy, stuff like that. All right, before we go, I want to show a sentence. Yeah, this one. This is one page. All I ask is that make sure you guys grammar is good, the spelling, etc. And then you put your own thought into it. You don't have to regurgitate everything in the textbook. you guys' definition of globalization? Does anyone want to give a shot? Do we live in a completely globalized society or world? You think so?
Yes, like, even in business today, everything we do is international, so I think that, on laptop, on the iPhone, for example, software, made in the US, California, Apple, China, other parts from different parts of the world, so I think, that's kind of globalization, just like, making connections with so many countries just to make, one product.
So potentially unlimited opportunities, now for people to make money or to enter something. Do we feel that there's many so-called third world countries as there were before, or have things changed? Or?
I mean, things are changing, but to the better. Even now, like, people are aware of what's happening, in Bangladesh, Ivory Coast for cocoa production and everything like that. People are being aware, and some are taking actions. That's why there's fair trade right now.
The TPP.
Kind of going on with what you said, I just feel like for example, in China, there's so many factories, clothing factories in China where companies make their factories there for a reason because the labor is cheap, because the material is cheap, and they could just find workers for cheap. But what happens when they find other workers in different countries for cheaper? So that they'll just move their factory to that other country, and then they'll leave those people without jobs. But which is a bad thing. But they'll get new jobs for those other people in different countries, which is a good thing for them, but bad for the other ones.
So they find cheap labor currently, but they're willing to go ahead if they find somewhere else cheap. What are some of the other? Let's just start with pros. What are the pros of globalization besides cheap labor?
Creating more jobs.
Does more jobs mean better life?
Oh, yeah.
In a way, it makes the world seem smaller, just because there are things that are made available to you in another country that, years back they wouldn't be available.
So access?
There's more innovation in business.
So people are able to put more ideas together and come up with better things. That's a hard one. I think technology is probably one of the hardest. So you think, for example, like Apple, who all has an Apple? Who all has a Galaxy? Samsung. Okay. They use many of the same components, right? Sony produces the chips for the optics. Sometimes use the same boards, with a few different configurations. But if you look at their strategy, so you look at their international sort of strategy, so they use similar components, different ways. So Apple, for the most part, I think, they wait only for HTC, Samsung to do something first and implement the technology to see how people respond to that. in order to see if they should do it or not. So they have sort of a weight game, but they use the same, a lot of similar components. The same with iPhone 7 and stuff coming out next week. We'll probably talk more about that. Wireless charging, Samsung's been doing that for a while. So back to globalization. What are some of the cons of globalization?
Stay away from like your home country. So as taking jobs in a different country, it's taking away jobs in your home country.
Mm-hmm. So say there was a call center here in Chicago that handled a lot of business for whoever, Boeing, Microsoft. And then Microsoft goes over to India. What are the people here? What else?
Kind of take away the uniqueness of other cultures, and kind of blend them together.
So what was once like a national identity, people are losing that cultural element. And everybody's kind of doing the same stuff.
Blending together.
Yeah. I'd say for the most part, it's sort of Westernization.
I was gonna say, it creates opportunities for people to behave in a non-ethical way. Because they're always moving to countries that don't usually have a lot of these laws put in place already, because they haven't experienced this type of business before. People can take advantage of other people.
So you can skirt laws.
Yeah. You can find loopholes easier than you could if you stayed, like, let's say, in America.
Oh, does globalization change maybe the entire country that we're talking about, or we're targeting? People lose religious beliefs because capitalism is coming. People start to dress different. People lose their language because they gotta speak English or whatever language they need to speak about. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Should we all be speaking the same language? Should we have one world government? One currency? Yeah, that's what our whole uniqueness. So there are pros and cons, and these are just some of the things to consider about in terms of globalization. The video and short videos like should be like 7 minutes.
Does anybody watch TED Talks? You like TED Talks? This guy here talks about globalization, kind of what we went over, but I thought it was pretty interesting, so we'll just...
The future, as we know, is very unpredictable. The best minds in the best institutions generally get it wrong. This is in technology, this is in the area of politics, where pundits, the CIA, MI6 always get it wrong, and it's clearly in the area of finance. But institutions established to think about the future, the IMF, the BIS, the Financial Stability Forum, couldn't see what was coming. Over 20,000 economists whose job it is, competitive entry to get there, couldn't see what was happening. Globalization is getting more complex, and this change is getting more rapid. The future will be more unpredictable. Urbanization, integration, coming together leads to a new renaissance. It did this 1,000 years ago. The last 40 years have been extraordinary times. Life expectancy has gone up by about 25 years. It took from the Stone Age to achieve that. Income has gone up for the majority of the world's population, despite the population going up by about 2 billion people over this period. And illiteracy has gone down from a half to about 40 people on Earth. A huge opportunity, unleashing of new potential for innovation, for development. But there's an underbelly. There are two Achilles heels of globalization. There's the Achilles heel of growing inequality, those that are left out, those that feel angry, those that are not participating. Globalization has not been inclusive. The second Achilles heel is complexity, a growing fragility, a growing brittleness. What happens in one place very quickly affects everything else. This is systemic risk, systemic shock. We've seen it in the financial crisis, we've seen it in the pandemic flu. It will become virulent, and it's something we have to build resilience again. A lot of this is driven by what's happening on technology. There's been huge leaps. There will be a million-fold improvement in what you can get for the same price in computing by 2030. That's what the experience in the last 20 years has been. It will continue. Our computers, our systems will be as primitive as the Apollos are for today. Our mobile phones are more powerful than the total Apollo space engine. Our mobile phones are more powerful than some of the strongest computers of 20 years ago. So what will this do? It will create huge opportunities in technology. Miniaturization as well. There will be invisible capacity in our bodies, in our brains, and in the air. This is a dust mite on a nanoreactor. This sort of ability to do everything in new ways unleashes potential, not least in the area of medicine. This is a stem cell that we've developed here in Oxford from an embryonic stem cell. We can develop any part of the body. Increasingly over time, this will be possible from our own skin, able to replicate parts of the body. Fantastic potential for regenerative medicine. I don't think there'll be a Special Olympics long after 2030 because of this capacity to regenerate parts of the body. But the question is, who will have it? The other major development is going to be in the area of what can happen in genetics. The capacity to create, as this mouse has been genetically modified, something which goes 3 times faster, lasts for 3 times longer, and reproduce as this mouse can to the age of our equivalent of 80 years, with using about the same amount of food. But will this only be available for the super rich, for those that can afford it? Are we heading for new eugenics? Will only those that are able to afford it, able to be the super race of the future? So, the big question for us is, how do we manage this technological change? How do we ensure that it creates a more inclusive technology? A technology which means that not only as we grow older, but we can also grow wiser and we're able to support the populations of the future. One of the most dramatic manifestations of these improvements will be moving from population pyramids to what we might term population coffins. There is unlikely to be a pension or retirement age in 2030. These will be redundant concepts. And this isn't only something of the West. The most dramatic changes will be the skyscraper type of new pyramids that will take place in China and in many other countries. So forget about retirements if you're young, forget about pensions, think about life and where it's going to be going. Of course, migration will become even more important. The war on talent, the need to attract people at all skill ranges, to push us around in our wheelchairs, but also to drive our economies and our innovation will be vital. The employment in the rich countries will go down from about 800 to 700 million of these people. This would imply a massive leap in migration. So the concerns, the xenophobic concerns of today on migration will be turned on their head as we search for people to help us sort out our pensions and our economies in the future. And then the systemic risks. We understand that these will become much more virulent, that what we see today is this interweaving of societies, of systems, fostered by technologies and hastened by just-in-time management systems. Small levels of stock push resilience into other people's responsibility. The collapse in biodiversity, climate change, pandemics, financial crises, these will be the currency that we will think about. And so a new awareness will have to arise of how we deal with these, how we mobilize ourselves in a new way and come together as a community to manage systemic risk. It's going to require innovation. It's going to require an understanding that the glory of globalization could also be its downfall. This could be our best century ever because of the achievements, or it could be our worst. And of course, we need to worry about the individuals, particularly the individuals that feel like they could be left out in one way or another. An individual, for the first time in the history of humanity, will have a capacity by 2030 to destroy their planet, to wreck everything through the creation, for example, of a biopathogen. How do we begin to weave these tapestries together? How do we think about complex systems in new ways? That will be the challenge of the scholars and of all of us engaged in thinking about the future. And the rest of our lives will be in the future. We need to prepare for it now. We need to understand that the government structure in the world is fossilized. It cannot begin to cope with the challenges that this will bring. We have to develop a new way of managing the planet, collectively, through collective wisdom. We know, and I know from my own experience, that amazing things can happen when individuals and societies come together to change their future. I left South Africa, and 15 years later, after thinking I would never go back, I had the privilege and the honor to work in the government of Nelson Mandela. This was a miracle. We can create miracles collectively in our lifetime. It is vital that we do so. It is vital that the ideas that are nurtured in TED, that the ideas that we think about, look forward and make sure that this will be the most glorious century and not one of eco-disaster and eco-collapse. Thank you.
All right, guys. I'll leave it at that. Before you go, just want you to think about this. Think about that, look it up, see what it means, see how it applies to you, see how it can apply to you as being a successful manager or an unsuccessful manager. Enjoy your weekend, have a good Labor Day.
Hello. That's okay. My sister's good. Hey, my sister's
There you go. Nah, no one. Take care. Yeah, this, something modern, this discussed was the challenges, how would you do it? So, kind of this challenges in there, but that's what your own response. Yeah.